Excuse me, sir. Could you please state your name?
Stewart Duckworth.
Where were you born?
Hominy Falls, Nicholas County, West Virginia.
Okay. Could you please state your name?
Burlin S. Duckworth.
And where were you born?
Hominy Falls, West Virginia.
Hominy Falls. Where's that near?
Near Summersville, West Virginia.
Okay. You're a World War II veteran, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Tell me where you went into service.
I went into service at Gasaway in the G Company, 150th Infantry, National Guard, 1934.
In 1934, so that was well before the war. What did you do in the National Guard?
I was in the infantry, and we went to Camp Conley, Point Pleasant in 1935, and 1936 we went to Fort Knox. We had the largest maneuver that had ever been in peacetime then. We had a 60-mile front built up along the Ohio River, the Red Army and the White Army.
Well, tell me about that. That sounds interesting.
Well, we had all of our officers back then day was World War I veterans, about all of them, old-timers. Everything was discipline, and it was the best thing we ever had, was discipline. And we drilled and maneuvered and attacked it. And that was a year down there from the worst droughts that they had ever witnessed in Kentucky.
Well, be darned.
The water was very scarce, and some of us would get water out of the Ohio River, and they stopped us, and they hauled water from far off. I don't know where they got it.
Okay. Anything interesting happened down there?
Yeah, we learned discipline, and we learned the first tank I ever heard of. I didn't know they had a tank them days because I guess while Hitler was had modern things, some of our howitzers was pulling with mules, and it was interesting. We marched. They had a viewing stand there. They said it was 50 feet above ground, and we had officers from other countries watching that maneuver. Germans and Japanese and several countries. They said I didn't see them all.
Well, tell me about the tank.
Well, we was out through there, and we come whipping through there and knocking down brush, and we took off, running, and it was coming next to us. We'd never seen a tank. We took out, and there was an old oak tree had fell out in the edge of the field, and we jumped over that oak tree log and got behind it, and the tank went around it.
Well, you're pretty lucky that tank didn't go over the tree then, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Spurgeon Mace was an old-timer there in the garden. He said he wasn't afraid of the tank. He said them rookies was running over top of it.
How long were you in the National Guard Infantry?
I was in the National Guard in 1939. In 1939, in June, I joined the Navy.
Oh, is that right? Well, where did you go when you joined the Navy?
I went to travel that night in T&O. Went to Richmond this morning the next morning, went on to Norfolk that day on the 9th, and we got in there at night and went to NOB, and that's when we started our 12 weeks training.
Uh-huh. So you did that at Norfolk, Virginia?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Now, where'd you leave on the train from?
Charleston. Sleep Like a Kitten was a sign on that thing.
Uh-huh. And that was the old train station in Charleston? Okay, and then you went over to Norfolk and you started your training. Tell me about your basic training.
Well, the first thing we did was go out there. One of the first things we did there was in detention there for 3 weeks after inoculations and everything. That was the first liberty we got then after 3 weeks. And then after that we went down, we had to swim the 200 yards. And what made the water rough was air, and it was tough swimming. I wasn't the best swimmer, but we made it. You had to pass that, or you couldn't make they wouldn't qualify you for a sailor.
Okay. Any special things happen in your basic training you can remember?
Yes, one night, one night we was marching about dark, and it was close to an officer's house, and they said we disturbed him, so they marched us all night. The whole night. But it was good. We had good officers. And some of the training chiefs was out of China, and they was pretty rough. But all in all, it was good training.
Where'd you go after basic training?
They give us a 10-day leave, and the day we broke training there in September 10th, I believe, Hitler went into Poland. And it was on the headlines in the papers and on the radio. There wasn't no other communication much some day, just what you read in the paper and that. And we came back, and they took us over to the Navy Yard. We stayed in Sloat Hall for 2 days or 3, and we commissioned the USS Rowan there, September 23rd, 1939.
So the USS Rowan.
Rowan.
What was the number of that ship?
405.
And what type of ship was that?
That was a 1,500-ton destroyer. It was a two-stacker.
Okay.
And 5-inch 38 was a heavy starman, and we had some 50 calibers on it then.
And what was your position then?
I was a seaman for a while, and I made the first. We went down on a shakedown. I made the gunner's mate first class.
Okay. What was your first real mission that you went on?
The first real mission we went on was after that shakedown cruise. We came up after we was down Bermuda and Trinidad and those places there, and we came up to Aruba. We got a lot of oil. It was a big refinery there. We got oil on the ship, and we came up and went to Havana, Cuba, stayed a week, and we went over and up through the canal and Gatun Lake was fresh water, and we washed the ship and got that cleaned up, and we went on to the Pacific, and the gouging gear that came out then and a sub-weapon, for the submarines, you know. Then we went up to right across from Long Beach there, and we were testing the gouging gear there. That's when the fleet was in over there, and the Jap pier, and Japanese was there, big fishing area. And we stayed there, and then we went to Hawaii, went to Pearl Harbor, and that was in the spring of 1940, and then we stayed there till next July 41, and we maneuvered with the fleet there and all kinds, and up behind the road was the old Utah, which was a training ship then. It still had the heavy guns on it, but it wasn't in operation.
So you were on the USS Utah for a while?
2 trips to gunnery, and the Marines were running, the old-time Marines, and they sat under the awning and drank tea, and they was training us how to operate the 50 caliber and the 30 caliber machine gun. And there was 4 position stoppages on them, and if anything stopped, they could holler and tell us what was wrong. And when I came off there a second time, I could operate a 50 caliber and hit the target.
Well, where'd you go after Hawaii?
After Hawaii, we came back to San Diego, and the captain had sent his wife back to Pearl. We was there around San Diego for a month or so, and sent her to Pearl, and he got them sealed orders. He came out to sea and got sealed orders. They opened them. They got them in days. They'd have to go so far and open them. And they immediately had us to paint the number off the ship, and we whipped right down, went through the Panama Canal, and went down off the Gold Coast of Africa, what they called it. We patrolled down there for a good while. We didn't know for sure what it was then, but we were seeing what Rommel was getting set down there. And we didn't see any harm, but we picked up enough that they knew the Navy knew what was going on. And then we came on up, and that was 41, and we came on up there to, let me see, Newfoundland, right off of Newfoundland. And that's when that falls, when we heard President Roosevelt make the famous speech that I hate war, and Eleanor hates war, and John hates war. He gave that speech, and right after that, our captain told us, he said, we're going to see action. He said, it's a-coming, and he said, we're ready. And a short while after that, later in the fall, some ships came over from the English Channel and brought the remnants of the British Army that got out of Dunkirk. They estimated 32,000. We came from there down to Orchard Shoal, Maine, and the new transport, USS America, the Navy took it over, and 2 others, and we headed down through the Atlantic. And we were going to take them and get them to the Far East, and so they could bolster against the Japanese down there was the main thing. they was all veterans, and we came down through there, and on the way down there below, next to not Argentina, but I can't think of his name. Anyway, we was coming down through there one morning in broad daylight while ship maneuver down there. We was all maneuvering and zigzagging, and it cut 30 foot off of our bow. So we went in the dock down at San Juan, Puerto Rico, and we went in the dock that we had down there, and they welded over the front, and we went on without that much of the bow, and went on down through there, and we took Martinique. We didn't have no trouble there. They sent a few Marines. There was fascist French there at Martinique, and we sent the Marines over there, and we didn't fire a shot, or Navy, anybody that I know of, but anyway, they run the flag, the white flag up, and took that over. And we went on, and this is in December 7th, we just pulled in that morning, Cape Town, South Africa, all them troops, and the word come over the radio that Pearl Harbor had been hit. And we went on down, and the Germans had two ships that were disguised down in there, and we were hunting them, and they looked like a regular trans steamer, but they let the app down the side, and they had the guns there, and they were sinking a lot of ships. And we didn't get one. We saw it one day, but we didn't get it. But the British did. The British didn't wait. When they saw something that was enemy, they sank it. And they got it. They got that big one. And we stayed down there, around the curve, we called it, down around the curve at South Haven. We stayed down there, and we got back at Norfolk the next May. We was in that part of the country.
What were some of the names of your shipmates and your captains that you knew then?
Captain B.R. Harrison was the commander, three-striper then. Terrific fellow. Yossi, chief postmate named Yossi, out in Oklahoma. Top sailor. They never a sailor, he was it. He knew it all. He was smart, slick, and when the sea got bad and rough, he'd get there and half the people sick, heaving and everything, and he'd get there and he'd get a pork chop and hold it up and eat it. Didn't bother him a bit.
Did you ever cross the equator?
Yeah, we crossed the equator on that shakedown cruise, the first on the ship before all this happened, yeah. I got pictures of that, and I'll never forget crossing the equator.
Well, what was that like?
Oh, it was fun after it was over, but I had black and blue places on me. When we got ready for that, them old timers on there got ready and had it all set, and they had a burlap about 15 feet long, about 2 foot in diameter. And prior to that, they had rotten eggs in it and anything to get in it. And you started at one end, it was wet. You started at one end, and so was an old timer had this shillelagh, and it was about sewed up in about an inch in diameter and stuffed with rags and everything. And they went along as that wet thing fell down on your rear while they was pouring on you, and you hurried out and you got to the Queen of the Deep and Royal Deep there. You got up there and you had to kiss I think it was the King of the Royal Deep, if I remember. And he's a hairy-chested fellow, and he had stuff smeared all over him. And you're supposed to kiss him in respect, And I barely tipped him. And they shot the electric to me, and I rammed my head half through his stomach. And they had the bears up there, and they had a burlap made in a shape like a container. And they had it full of water. And they'd put you in there 3 times. They just come to hair drown me. When I got out, I couldn't hardly make it. And we had one guy in there, and they claimed he was a homosexual, an old-timer, and he took a terrible beating. I mean, they laid it on him. Easy. I got a picture of him down to death. And that was crossing the equator. I crossed it again in the Pacific later. You shellback, mossback, and hornback.
What are the differences between those?
Well, it's the time you had crossed it. Each time you crossed it. I believe it was a shellback and a hornback and a mossback, if I remember right.
Well, that's interesting. Now, what did you do after the row and came back to Norfolk?
We we came back here and we started patrolling, and Hitler had them wolf packs up there at Newfoundland, around there in a certain area there, and Argentia Bay. That's really where we was when President Roosevelt made that speech, was Argentia Bay, Newfoundland. Right around the curve from Nova Scotia, really. And we went patrolling for them and trying to sink them. And then we went to Iceland and we came back. And later we spent quite a bit in Iceland, the 6 months of the light part of the year, twice. And then we came down by that time why the invasion of Casablanca came up, and we was in it.
Uh-huh.
And I was there, and then after Casablanca, I got hurt. 2 or 3 of us got hurt. We was taking a splash gun down off of the 5-inch .38, and it slipped and knocked us down and cut my left little toe off, and that's all but banged my legs up. And I was in the hospital, and while I was in the hospital, the skipper that commissioned that, Captain D.R. Harrison, he had so much sea duty, they transferred him to Norfolk to sea duty. And when they did, another skipper took over. And all the time that Commander Harrison with it, he saved us many times. But he was using his head. But anyway, the Rowan got caught off of Italy, and it was firing in on the Germans where the army was going. Our army was going, and Patton's army, they claimed he was leading it. And that ship was knocking him off of there, and the Germans sank that Rowan.
Uh-huh.
And the bigger part of the fellows went down with it.
And you had been transferred off by then? Because
yeah, I was
you
in
were
the
sick?
hospital ship. My clothes, about all my gear was on that ship. And I never made it back.
Well, where'd you go after that?
They transferred me back to the States, and I went to Savannah, Georgia, to commission a minesweeper and a threat. And we had it out there when we took it over. It was doing pretty good, and we took it over to Sicily. And we was getting ready. Well, we did do some work over there on Sicily, and it wasn't too bad a duty, but one of the engines went out on it, 2 diesel engines, and we brought it back, and they transferred about all that crew here and there, and they sent me to Orange, Texas to commission APD, which is Army Personnel Destroyer. That's when your mom got to go on later. And we went over in Ned again. They sent us to the Ned. First we were going up to D-Day, and then they changed that. We thought sure we was going up there. We didn't know it was going to be D-Day, but they turned us around, and we went over there also and went up Ned, up there off the Capri, up through there, and that's where the Army started gathering. We went up to I think it wasn't Sicily, it was on it. But anyway, we went up through there and getting ready for that St. Tropez and St. Maxime. And when that invasion came along, why that ocean there was full of liner ship craft of all kinds, just droves of them. We went up, and after that invasion was over, we come back to the States, and that was about 45, just before Christmas 45. And then after the spring, we got married in January. And then spring training started for us, and we were doing a lot of training, the infantry and everything else, getting ready to go. We were fixing to pick up 100 infantry, special infantry. Well, I didn't know what damn it is. 100 ships from the Navy, got our ship at the Navy Yard, and changed the bottom of it so we could run it up on the ship, on the beach. And we had a lot of netting over there, and we drilled for that. And we were going to go, and we kept on training there. Just before the Japanese surrendered, and we went down, we was headed for the Pacific. And we was in Pulan, Panama, and your mom was home here. She was up here at Charleston 1. And we was fueling up and fixing to do the canal. And we was had the building already in special places for them troops. And Japanese surrendered.
What would have been your job had they not surrendered?
Hit the beach. That's what we was training for. We trained and trained over that netting.
Was the Navy going to hit the beach too?
Yeah, everybody.
Along with the...
Everybody. I'll show you a picture of the crew with all the guns. Everybody had weapons. I got it in there somewhere.
Uh-huh.
and the train officers and everything. We was going to go ashore there.
What did you do after the Japanese surrendered?
We went on up the coast to California, and we had to have 58 points to get out, and I had double them points, and I got out. And Camp Pendleton, I stayed there about 2 days, and they called the name to study day and night, seemed like. And they sent us back to Bainbridge, Maryland, and I got discharged there from home.
So what were the names of the ships that you were on?
The threat was a minesweeper, and I can't think, APD, I can't think right now that name of that thing. But anyway, we drilled and drilled and drilled.
So you were on the Rowan, the Utah, the Threat, and an APD.
Yeah. I was on other ships, the gun crew, more or less getting used to that type of ship and everything, but you just be on there for a day maybe.
Uh-huh. What's your most significant memory of that whole time?
Well, I don't know. Odd things happened. One time on the Rowan there, we were trying to take a convoy to Russia. Truthfully, we never did make it with all of them. Never did make it there. Some got through, but not. The Von Perkins, the Germans had the Von Perkins and the Scharnhorst, and the Gaspee was their big ship, and the Von Perkins was up in there. And later, the British found it up in a river and found it and sank it there. But they had some big ships too. We was taking a convoy up there off the Halvorvold, off of Norway, up as close as we could hover in there. And they attacked us, and they called them Junkers 88. Somebody, maybe it wasn't our ship, everybody was shooting. And they was bombing us, and everybody was shooting. And German got down in the water. They had seaplanes there. About all of them was laying in the water, and he got shot down in the water. And German come to land to get him out, and the ceasefire come over the loudspeaker on the ship. Ceasefire, ceasefire. And everybody quit shooting till the fella got him out of there and flew away with him. Nobody shot at him while he was in the water.
Noble act, huh? Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So did you ride the trains a lot during the war?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Trained in Charleston, when you was in New York, a time or two, in Boston, you ride all the way to Miami. When they was transferring to Miami one time, I rode from New York, Grand Central Station to Miami.
You ever ride the line that goes through Grafton?
Yeah, my cousin and I hoboed there in 37, 38. Yeah, we rode that.
What did you think of Grafton back then?
We didn't look at it too much. It was getting dark. But we caught it, and I'll never will forget that. There was a tunnel there somewhere. I wanted to go up there and look sometime. Looked right at Grafton. One end of it, one way or another, we went through a tunnel. I remember us holding our mouth. Back then it was steam and smoke. Uh-huh.
Well, that's great. So you were mustered out at Bainbridge, Maryland, and then came back home.
Yeah, that's when head shrinker psychiatrist was talking to everybody to see how they made it, and he just said a word to me. He either thought I was still smart or didn't know nothing one, but he just dismissed me. Some fellows, he asked me a lot of questions.
Uh-huh.
He didn't me.
So you got married during the war.
Uh-huh.
What was the name of your wife?
Marjorie Simmons.
And where was she from?
She was from Gasaway, West Virginia.
And so you married her in New York City or where?
Charleston. She's working in a defense plant in Charleston, making parts for ships.
Okay. Where were you married exactly in Charleston?
We married the old YMCA building where now a horse stood in the yard. Now it's in the yard. The old YMCA building. We went in there and the place was full of servicemen after we came out.
Was she able to go anywhere with you after you got married?
She came down there 2 or 3 times. Came down to the Newport News and I'd pick her up.
Uh-huh.
She rode the train several times.
And she got to go on a ship then?
Yeah. She go on the APD and eat a meal with me.
Oh, that's great. Anything else you could think of that you want to add about your experiences during that period?
Yeah, some liberty places.
Oh, yeah, tell me about Liberty. You did get off the ship now and then, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. Every time we got a chance, but it wasn't too much. We really traveled a lot because I was going to tell you, we'd be in Trinidad for a week or two down there because Hitler finally got to bringing his subs around the southern route, they called it, and then he'd have them up north. So I did one thing: the Germans were good with submarines. They were submarine people, no question about it. And we'd head from down Trinidad, maybe in 2 weeks we'd be in ice in Reykjavik. And we'd be in Reykjavik there, and we'd come back, and 2 or 3 times we'd break out with a rash. And that's when the last time we ever did that, they stopped and was in Boston. It was our home port for a short while in Boston. And we got in the hospital, 4 or 5 of us in or more.
Mm-hmm.
And they cured us there.
And what was your best Liberty town?
Boston was a good Liberty place, and Savannah, Cuba was about the best. Havana, I mean.
Uh-huh. What would you do on Liberty?
Well, you could...
In general.
Be nice.
Just have a good time?
Yeah, have a good time. Norfolk was East Main back then was a rolling place. They closed it during the years. Sand Street, New York, where the Navy Yard was over in Brooklyn, was a good Liberty place. And New York, the thing about New York City, it stayed open all night. I mean, nothing hardly closed. And Havana, Cuba was the same way. Panama was good back then, down Cash Street and everything, and the place didn't close at all. And that ring door was swinging all night. It was a good place to relax. I mean, you're on the ocean for weeks and weeks and everything, you know. I mean, someplace like it's a big freedom, a lot of freedom.
So you went through the Panama Canal. What was that like?
That was good. We went through there, taking our time. When we come back, we went through as fast as we could. They knew we were pulling us part of the way. We came in, coming through there 2 abreast that time. That's when I looked up and saw Shandy Wayne on St. McGee Lock. It was on a machine gun.
So you saw somebody you knew there?
Yeah, he was neighbor from right up here. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And what was he doing there?
He was G Company had been sent after this one. Mobilized them up here at Gasoline and sent them different directions. They sent the majority of them, though, for training down there in Panama to go to the Philippines, which they did. And one of the sergeants is in the VA hospital right now. He's 88-year-old up at Clarksburg. Bill Slaughter, he got wounded in the Philippines pretty bad.
Mm-hmm. So your old National Guard company was in the Panama when you went through.
Uh-huh. I got the short leave there and went up there for an hour or 2. I think it wasn't long. I hitchhiked up there in the jungle where the camp was, and it was a rough place. Jim Carr died last year here, and he had been a maneuver, and they was shooting close and blowing up place, and they blowed the end of a bridge out from under him and hurt him some. Rough training. That wasn't long after that. They took him to the Philippines, and Charles Spring over here, I talked to him pretty often, and they'd send him into Iran to help load airplanes, to go with Russian airplanes to go fight Hitler. And he got a medal a couple of years ago, a big medal from Russia for doing that.
Oh, I'll be darned.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Anything else you want to add?
Not much. All that in between. There's a lot of things in between. A lot of funny things.
Well, I'll come back later if you think of them. Thanks for the interview.